I made a block to return the first pair of numbers in a list of numbers. So here is a list of numbers, and the first pair are these threes. Now when I say pair, I mean the same numbers in a row. So these threes, so when I run this, it's going to return the position of this first pair. And I'll run it right here, and you can see it says 2 because this 3 is located at position 2, right? Position 1, position 2. Now if I run it on this second example here, you can see it returns 6 because the first pair of numbers that I encounter are these two 7s right here, and they start at position 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm returning the position of the first pair of numbers. Now, if there is no pair of numbers, like in this next case, I want the value -1 to be returned. You can see this returns -1, and -1 is also returned in this case because it's impossible to have a pair. I just have a list of one number. So let's see how I wrote this, shall we? Oh, very exciting. So this is my program. This is how I wrote the block. Really not very complicated. I'm just taking this one parameter as input. So list is getting passed into my block right here. And I'm just saying if the length of the list is less than 2, I'm just going to return, or I'm going to report back -1. Now you know that report, you know by now that that just jumps out of this block and returns that value immediately. So if the length of the list is not less than 2, I go through a for loop from 1 to the length of the list -1. Now I'll talk about why am I not going to the very end of the list. Well, the reason I'm not going to the very end of the list is because inside here I'm comparing the item at position I to the item at position I plus 1. This is a little bit tricky. Basically, I'm just saying if the item located, let's say I'm starting at 1, so if the item located at position 1 is equal to the item located at position I plus 1, so that would be 2 in this case, if they're the same, then I'm going to report back that index. If not, this for loop continues. So I becomes 2, and now I'm going to compare the item at position 2 to the item at position 3. Hopefully that makes sense. If they're equal, I'm going to report back I, and it keeps going. And again, I think maybe you can see the reason that I go to the length of the list -1 is because my last comparison is going to compare the thing at position I. So for example, let's look at this first case. The thing at position I is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to, if I is 6, I'm comparing the thing at position 6 to the thing at position I plus 1, which is 7. That's the last comparison that I need to make. And if that's a pair, I'm going to report I. If there are no pairs, after I've completed this for loop, I'm just going to report back -1. Give this some thought, because this is a little bit tricky to students. I don't want I to go to the very, very end of the list, because then I would end up comparing the last item with something beyond the end of the list. So I don't want to do that. Obviously, these two lines of code have something to do with each other. I'm going to the length of the list -1, but I'm making my comparison of the thing at I to the thing at position I plus 1. All right, and that's the whole code. Now you're going to be using this concept of going through a list and comparing items next to each other. You're going to use this for the next few projects. So convince yourself that this works, and if you're not sure how it works, come talk to me and we'll go over it. All right, that's it.